Hello, here we are in the maintenance shop of the Blue Oval Car Barn. Today we're going to highlight a green 71 Mustang. Believe it or not, another 71 Mustang. You probably expected that from me, right? This happens to be a 71 C-Code 429 Cobra Jet Coupe, 4-speed, 350 geared, and someone's added track lock to it. So this is a 26,000 mile survivor that we located in Colorado and acquired and brought it in. We're going to clean it up a little bit, do some maintenance, put it back to all original, and we're going to display it on the showroom floor here at the Blue Oval Car Barn. Now I'm going to open the hood, and the first thing you're going to see is it has an aftermarket intake manifold, carburetor, and air cleaner on it. And I imagine a lot of people are going to say, well, that's not stock. Well, you're right, it's not, but it will be when we get done working on it. And luckily enough, the gentleman that owned this car was a hot rod enthusiast and a photographer, and he kept all the parts, which is very unusual. His name is Mike Page. I want to thank him very much for holding on to the parts. That will enable us to be able to get the car back into original condition. We'll clean it up. We'll do a little bit of ice blasting into the car to get all the oil and grease off of it. We'll clean it, put it back to original. So a lot of people say, how do you know what this car is? How do you know that it's what it's supposed to be? Well, I want to talk about documents a little bit today. These are all documents that we use in these cars, okay? For instance, this is something that we use here in the shop that's essentially a Ford-sponsored report that gives us all the details, all the options on the car, when it was built, where it was shipped to, that sort of thing. It tells us this was a 429 Cobra Jet car. It tells us that it was a 4-speed car. It still is. It still has the rev limiter on it. It still has all the original stuff. It's only a 26,000 mile car. Now, also the original invoice. Here's the original invoice for the car that we were able to acquire, okay? And this gives the actual sell sheet from selling the car, and these two better match. Normally they do. Now another thing you can do is you can acquire, for a few bucks, you can get a particular service to give you a breakdown on the metrics for the car. This says there were 11 C-Code 4-speed 429 Cobra Jet Coupes built. Only 11. Of that, 6 were Super Cobra Jet and 5 were standard Cobra Jets. This is one of the 5 standard Cobra Jets in 4-speed with a 350 rear end. Then if you're lucky enough that the car was in a dry climate, and if you're lucky enough that the car was well cared for, underneath the back seat is the build sheet. This is the actual sheet that gives all the parameters and metrics that the people use at the plant to assemble the car from. So this build sheet from the factory equals the invoice, original documents. Then from a service called Marty Auto Works, you can get a detailed Ford-sponsored document with the metrics and with all the details from the car. So even if you don't have any of the original documents, you can acquire most of this, and you hope that the build sheet is still in one piece under the back seat like this one was. Now the good thing, and the thing that we got to be very helpful to us, is Mike kept the original shroud. He kept the original C-Code air cleaner assembly, the original intake manifold. I have the carburetor, so we've got everything we need, the 4 major parts to put this car back together and put it back into original condition, which is great. And it's going to make it a wonderful, non-restored survivor with 26,000 miles that'll be on display here at the Blue Oval Car Barn. Green interior, green car, green Hornet, Cobra Jet car, 429 car, and it's a 4-speed car, which is very unusual in a coupe. Here at the Blue Oval Car Barn, hope you'll make it by to see us someday. And by the way, I want to mention thanks and a shout out to Hot Rod Magazine, who put an article in the May magazine for us on the Blue Oval Car Barn. There's an article in here on our black barn find a couple of months ago up in Missouri. So if you get the magazine, you might read the article. If you don't, you might look it up online at Hot Rod Magazine, the Blue Oval Car Barn, sporting and representing for the classic and muscle car industry. Let's go find these old cars and let's save them. Thank you very much. Come see us, the Blue Oval Car Barn. This is one of the ones you'll be able to see. Oh, I forgot something. One more thing I wanted to highlight on this is when I went to pick this up, Mike said, hey, you know, I've got all the original parts and I've got the original wheels. But he didn't tell me I was going to need a hatchet and a saw to get the wheels because there was a tree growing through them. Had a tough time getting this thing out of the backyard. Thanks to Tommy, thanks to the crew, thanks to Mike, thanks to Mike's wife, thanks to everybody. Great new addition to the Blue Oval Car Barn. We'll get the tree out of this wheel someday, I promise you. Thanks a lot. See you later.